The Tin Man Podcast is a proud partner with DashClip. DashClip specializes in crafting exceptional wallets that go beyond mere accessories. DashClip is not just a brand, it's a philosophy, a daily reminder to embrace life and make every moment count. Check them out today at the-clip.com. That's the-clip.com. You are listening to the Tin Man Podcast. I'm your host, Chris Tinius, a former college soccer coach and avid music fan. This podcast is my way to explore my passions, get new perspectives, and help others share their own unique stories and expertise. Now let's get started with the Tin Man Podcast. Welcome back to the Tin Man Podcast. I thank you for joining me. Don't forget to hit the follow or subscribe button to always stay up to date with the newest releases. After a few sports episodes in a row, it's time to turn our attention back to music. My guest is multi-talented artist and producer Cam Clark. A touring artist for over a decade with C2 and the Brothers Reed, Clark recently released his debut solo album, Outer Reaches, which he self-produced in his Tobacco Barn studio. The music is a healthy mix of rock, R&B, and soul, and the big sound wouldn't lead you to believe it was mainly Clark on the recording with limited help from a few friends. The Paris, Kentucky native still makes the area his home. He'll be performing at the Burl in Lexington this Saturday, March 1st. We'll give you a sampling of a few songs from the new album throughout the episode. Here's your first taste as we head into the conversation with Cam Clark.
I've been to the outer reaches of the mind and I ain't come back. I rode that train so long that the train ran out of track. I ain't got nothing but time, and time costs everything. Well, I've been to the outer reaches and I ain't coming back, and that's a fact. Hey!
Welcome back to the Tin Man Podcast. I am joined by Cam Clark, who we're here to talk about his solo debut album, Outer Reaches. Cam, thanks for sharing a little bit of your time with me tonight.
Thanks for having me, man. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, so exciting stuff and some great new music you've got out. But I always like to kind of start at the beginning for my listeners and kind of share people's stories. So you are a Paris, Kentucky native from that area and still call that area your home, which for people listening may or may not know, that is in Bourbon County, Kentucky. So I've got my bourbon here to celebrate, but maybe take us back to growing up in that area and how you got introduced to music.
I've always loved, well, I don't know if I've always loved Paris, but I've grew to love it after touring and being on the road a lot. It's then you come back, that's kind of the age old thing, you
Right.
You miss it once you're gone, then you come back and you're like, this is it now. I can't really imagine myself anywhere else. It's beautiful and quiet and not too much going on, and that's what I like about it. But growing up, it was, I wanted a little more action, a little more excitement, which I got on the road, and still do. But I got into music really early age. Used to, art and drawing and stuff like that was my first love. And
Okay.
whenever I was drawing and being creative, I was always listening to music, and that kind of it helped, with the focus and I always used to listen to this radio station. Do you remember? Well, you're in Louisville, right? So you might not have.
I'm in Louisville. Yeah, I grew up in Bowling Green. I'm in Louisville now.
Great. Bowling
Yeah.
Green's awesome.
Yeah.
spent a lot of gigs down at Tidballs, and
Yeah.
yeah, that's a cool spot.
Mm-hmm.
But this this radio station, I was 9, 10, 11. It was called Magic 105, and all they played were 50s and 60s, like soul music and oldies, and
Okay.
I just resonated with that, and kind of learned how to sing and learned by the greats, Motown and um, old Stax stuff, and that kind of music always just struck me. So
Yeah,
that's kind of
that stuff, like you said, it can kind of get ingrained in your mind and hit right to the core of you. Now, what then got you into playing music? Because it's one thing to hear the music and be kind of drawn to the sound, but how do you get into your first time playing guitar or picking up a guitar or something like that?
I think it was the excitement of seeing bands I loved, like the live shows. Um, it was I used to have a bunch of like live DVDs of like Queen and
Okay.
um, all of these just amazing bands, and there was something about just watching the live show that you're just like, I want to do that. I want that excitement firsthand. And I started going to shows, and I used to really be into theater too, and musical theater in
Okay.
high school, and so all of that stuff kind of just melded into music, into live performances, because you can incorporate the theatrical side,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like all of my interests could be kind of melded into a live performance. So it's
Yeah, that's a good way to put all those things together. And you mentioned, Paris kind of has the small town feel, but you're not far from Lexington to be able to go in and kind of get that atmosphere too. Um, yeah, it's probably a nice dichotomy of going in kind of the bigger city in Lexington, but then when you need to get away, kind of clear your mind and get back to that core creativity, you can kind of escape back there to Paris.
yeah, I don't go out much, honestly. It's a lot of just I'm just always creating. It's like a drive. So the quietness of Paris is perfect for that. So nobody to bother me, and I'm a night owl too.
Okay.
I work best at 2 or 3 a.m. a lot of times.
Well, that's good. That's good in your line of work, because you say you don't go out much, but you're out. It's just the other people are out to see you when you're performing. So you're
Yeah,
working, but you're
yeah,
doing it while everybody else is out.
exactly. Yeah, I don't go out for entertainment these days. It's like,
Right.
but
Yeah.
I get my fill of it on show dates, I guess. But
So you talked about some of those early influences in the Motown and kind of that soul music. I know I've heard you do some other interviews, and I think you've kind of mentioned Al Green and Ray
hmm
Charles as
Ray
some people
Charles,
that have really
yeah,
influenced you. Yeah, so
Ray
maybe
Charles is my
talk a
number
little bit
one.
about those specifics.
Yeah, so Ray Charles is pretty much is just kind of how I learned to sing. I think there's something about just the it just cuts to you. It just cuts to your
Hmm.
soul, and then yeah, I picked up a lot from him and Otis Redding and Al Green for sure. The killer falsetto kind of thing he does, and
Hmm.
yeah, those were major influences on me. But then also a lot of great rock bands influenced me, and so I just kind of tried to. I just kind of took those inspirations, and I tried to create my own uh, sound,
Hmm.
from those things. Not trying to be anybody or imitate anyone, just but there's the influences are undeniable.
Hey, baby, I've been thinking lately. I'm not a gambling man, but I go all in. Hey, baby, yeah, it's no secret, frankly. Call me crazy. Well, maybe. Oh, but can't you see? Oh, that you're never gonna be what everybody wants you to be. You be, yeah, it's alright with me.
A nice, at least to me, it's a nice mix of all those things: a rock, soul, a little bit of R&B. And I know before this solo album, you had been with C2 and the Brothers Reed. Kind of, maybe explain how that formed, and then what kind of made you want to step out and have this album on your own.
That started early 20s, I think. Um, yeah, I'd gotten out of college and just was looking for some other cats that wanted to rock and roll, and just got the '99 Astro van and just started rolling around and breaking down on the side of the road a lot. And then yeah, I did that for several years, 6 or 7 years, I think. And then I tend to in life just kind of follow where the excitement goes, and if I start to get tired or bored or something, or wanting to go in a different direction or whatever, I just do it. I mean, we only have so much time, so it's like just that's kind of where what this came out of. So
Well, just follow your heart. I think that a lot of people will be better served to do that from time to time. And we'll talk a little bit more about the album here in just a second. But I'm gonna name a couple of people or bands that I think I hear a little bit in there as well, besides from some of your influences you've already mentioned. But
cool, yeah.
I almost kind of hear a little bit of Alabama Shakes in there a little bit with
Oh, cool, yeah. I
some of the
love
riffs.
them.
Um,
Yeah,
Anderson East. I don't know
I,
if you know Anderson East.
I have heard the name and maybe a song or two.
Okay. And then the other one that had jumped in my head, and then just in preparing for this a little bit, I think I actually saw a few pictures of you guys, maybe at performances together, but is Shannon Vetter, who I talked to about a year ago, after
Yeah,
he played at the Big Stomp. But yeah, it kind of gave me those vibes a little bit too.
Shannon's a good dude, man. He's amazing. He's a multi-talented cat, but he actually played sax on the album.
Okay, well there you go. So there's a
Yeah,
good tie-in. Um,
yeah,
and so
yeah.
we'll head there now and talk about the album Outer Reaches. And the place I want to start is you recorded it in your studio, the Stripping Room, and maybe tell everybody about that studio and the uniqueness of the space that you have there.
Well, this is it. This is it. You're looking at it. This is the stripping room.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, stripping room for people not, uh, I guess, familiar with tobacco farming and stuff like that. But it's in a barn where you would actually take take the tobacco and strip the leaves, and this was all just plywood. There was a giant bench on the side here, and the bench was where you would strip the leaves and then take it and sell it. And
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, this was dirt floors, and so yeah, it's now it's
A little different now.
a little different. Yeah, yeah. So it's I built it out and tuned it, and it's a perfect little space for what I do.
Yeah. And
And
you produce and record some other artists as well, right? It's not just recording your own music in there.
yeah, I do. Uh, Friends and just other uh, artists that I dig, and yeah, it's
Cool. So again, The Outer Reaches is the new album, and one of the things I like about it, and I can't remember if I read it or again heard you maybe in another interview, but talking about how the album is meant to flow as one continuous piece, and I'm a big fan of that type of creation. You know, it used to be you always bought albums, right? And any song you wanted to hear, you had to buy the whole album. Now you can buy single songs and hop on iTunes and do all that stuff. But I'm still really drawn to stuff where people are creating that album as an entire, piece of work instead of just songs that are kind of thrown on there together. So maybe talk about your inspiration and that process of putting a whole piece of work together.
it's something I always wanted to do, just because I like telling stories, and
Okay.
um, and I think being able to spread out the story, into one thing, like a film almost. I kind of wanted it to be a film you could just have in your head to an extent by listening to it. But it it kind of leaves room for creativity. It's like you don't have to. You can have pieces that are instrumental that build into the next thing, and you can keep the energy and the momentum going, and you can bring it up and bring it down, and like cruise. And I think it helps with just the energy as a whole. Like you have a few songs that are more songs, but those are
Mm-hmm.
kind of the signposts, and then it's like taking on a ride from this one to this one, and like you would it with a script or a screenplay or something.
Yeah.
Um,
Was there a singular inspiration to start writing Outer Reaches, or was it all just kind of that creativity as it came to you?
yeah, there was. I haven't really talked about it, but I guess there was a few. So several years ago, there was this documentary, and I can't remember the name of it. It was about this younger girl, and like 20s. I think she's in her 20s, and she had a stroke, and the documentary was like following her recovery,
Okay.
and she ended up having a full recovery, but when she was first coming out of the stroke, she said, I feel like I've been to the outer reaches of my mind. And
Mm.
that line kind of like, at the moment, it was profound to me, but then it just kind of led me down kind of a rabbit hole of consciousness, and like, there's sometimes certain things that kind of like snap you into a different mindset. Like
Mm-hmm.
like another one. I think it was like a a a yogi. It said it was like, "You are not your thoughts," and that one line, like it just click. You know, sometimes things just click, and then you kind of wake up into a different, like what do you mean? What does that mean? And then you're on a journey,
Right.
and that that line kind of led me into a journey, uh, and so I wanted to kind of document that journey through music.
That's pretty cool. And that's the first line of the album. I've been to the outer reaches of the mind.
Hmm. Yeah, and then the rest of it is kind of the human experience. You know, different things that make us human. I wanted to kind of like incorporate, you know, like the emotional side of things, and then like the, you know, like hey baby, maybe more of like the parenting side of things, you know, like all of the different like milestone human things. And time is a big one, you know, like our perceptions of like the passage of time. And
Mm-hmm.
so it's a lot of heavy stuff that I just kind of wanted to deal with in a musical way, I guess. I don't know. Like try to present it as one story. And that's the thing, is like human experience is one continuous thing.
Right.
So
Yeah. No, like you said earlier, you flow from one experience to another, and a lot of times you don't even have time to really process what you just been through until you get partway into the next experience.
yeah, exactly.
So, the album presents a pretty big sound at times, but if I understand it correctly, it's mainly you on there. Now, you mentioned, Shannon Vetter playing some of the sax, but I mean, the majority of the music on the album comes from you. So how do you, now it helps to have your own studio there and be able to tinker with stuff whenever you want, but how do you go about presenting such a big sound and making it sound like you have this huge band backing you for the entire album or most of the album? How do you go about that when it's mainly you performing most of it?
It that comes down to the mixing stage for me. That's I love mixing, and I recorded it all with one mic. Actually, this mic is what I recorded everything with. Just one. I had one mic, and just it's not polished, and it's not a, big, like, perfect studio thing, and that was intended. I wanted it raw and imperfect, much like, like perfect is boring. It's like
Yeah.
you want the imperfections, and that's what I was aiming for. But yeah, to get that sound, it was just that was the sound that I wanted, that was in my head, and so I just, yeah, like you said, tinkered until I could get that sound. But I didn't use any samples or um, anything like that. It's like if it's on there, it came from that mic. And so yeah, it was just a lot of layering, and yeah, but I did have help from some. I mean, there's some things I can't do. I get. Well, there's a lot of things I can't do, but like the horn section. My friend Darnaby Kearns plays trumpet, so a lot of that is stacks of him playing trumpet. And then my friend Aaron Sliney plays fiddle. So that's like layers. The orchestra parts, layers of her fiddle playing, and Shannon. Um, but
Hmm.
other than that, yeah, just a lot of layering and mixing and tinkering.
Yeah, it's interesting to me, and this is just my own personal thing here now is so I'm a anybody who's listened to the podcast before knows I'm a big Bruce Springsteen fan, and one of the albums that he has that's so different from the others is the Nebraska album, and I just finished reading the book about how Nebraska was made, and basically he was in a farmhouse in a bedroom with a 4-track almost cassette player at that time, and it was the same thing. He had actually started by seeing news reports of some stuff, some killings that had happened out in the Midwest and out in the plains. That kind of spurred his thoughts to going. It was the same type of thing.
Mm.
He just wanted to get that thought process down. Didn't care if it sounded perfect. And so as you're talking through that, it's kind of clicking in my head. Oh, well, there's another reason that maybe I'm drawn to this album of yours is the creative process seems to be much the same as that was, even if the sounds maybe not quite the same. I want to
That's
talk a little bit
interesting.
about
Yeah.
your upcoming. Oh, yeah, yeah, it's yeah, like I said, it's just funny how sometimes you get drawn to a certain type of thing, whether you realize why you're drawn to it or not.
Yeah, I didn't realize that album, that was the story behind that album. That's pretty
Yeah,
cool. That's a very different one
yeah.
from his other work. So that's kind of cool. Yeah, I don't know.
It,
You just get
oh,
like downloads or something, and then you just got to get it out in one way or another.
How I hold it all together. How I make it through the night. Out here in the dark, I'm calling. Maybe you can be my light. That's alright. Oh, I was just passing by. Oh, maybe I could stay for a while, yeah. Oh, now you can't make somebody love you, but that don't mean that I won't try.
for people that are wanting to see you, you're going to be at the Burl in Lexington this Saturday, March 1st. And then I know you're heading out to a festival in May. So maybe talk about upcoming shows and ways that people can catch you live.
Yeah, the Burl, that will be the actual official album release, although it's been out for a
Oh,
minute now. I put them. I put the songs out like one at a time for a year, and so it finally came out. But uh, this is the actual. I'm finally getting to do the show with the full band, and yeah, if you want to come, man, let me know. It's not too far,
yeah,
but
I would love to. We've got a fundraiser here in Louisville, of course, on March 1st. So
oh,
that's
awesome.
that's why I'm looking at the rest. I'm looking at the rest of your schedule too. Like I said, I know in May you're going to be doing the Sleeping in the Woods Songwriter Festival.
Oh
Um,
yeah,
but I didn't realize that this on Saturday is the official album launch. That's pretty cool. And you talked about kind of having the full band with you. So maybe talk about who's going to be with you and how you've put that group together to help present, the recorded concept to a live audience.
yeah. We're gonna do the whole album all the way through, and Shannon will be playing, Darby will
Uh-huh.
be playing. Everybody that contributed on the album is in the band, along with some other amazing musicians and friends I've known for many years. Uh, yeah, I'm excited. It's a whole it's a whole other it's a whole other energy with these guys. You know, it's an actual drummer. It's not me. You know, layering with what it's way more energy and excitement, and so yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. And I have some dates coming up in Louisville too that aren't announced yet,
Great.
but for anybody yeah wanting to catch a show, I keep them announced on my socials and Spotify and stuff like that.
And
So
we'll put all those links in the episode notes. So anybody listening, go to the episode notes and you can find all the ways to follow Cam. But Cam, again, I appreciate your time. I love kind of hearing about the process of how people come up with their work. You know, I was a soccer coach for a long time, so I understand the process of planning a team and how you're going to play a game and game plans and that kind of stuff. It's maybe a little more pragmatic and not quite as creative, but just that I love hearing the process that people have to go through and the work that you did and the product has been awesome and a lot of fun to listen to. So I hope you have a great show at the Burl with the official launch, and definitely look forward to seeing when you're back here in the Louisville area.
awesome, man. Well, thanks so much for having me on, and it's been great talking to you.
All right.
Digging around down grave. The land of the free at the home of the slave. It just to do it 'cause I told you so.
I hope you enjoyed my conversation with Cam Clark, and I hope you'll give his album Outer Reaches a listen. You can learn more about him at camclarkishere.com. And remember, you can catch him live at the Burl in Lexington this Saturday, March 1st. As always, I appreciate you listening. Don't forget to support the Tin Man Podcast by liking or subscribing on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, or anywhere you find your favorite podcast. You can also follow on X and Instagram at Tin Man Pod, or check out our Facebook page. We'd love your feedback or ideas for future episodes through any of the previously mentioned platforms or by emailing tinmanpod@gmail.com. I'm especially fond of the soulful sound in some of Cam Clark's music, so we'll take you out with a bit more of my favorite from the new album, Hey Baby. We'll catch you next time on the Tin Man Podcast.